For more on this continued fighting in Mali, I'm joined now by Pham. He's the director of the Atlantic Council's Africa Center. Peter, thanks very much for coming in. I know that when you came in before, when this conflict was just beginning, we always looked and said it might be easy to get them out of the towns. The question is what happens next. How worried are you about this resurgence of violence in northern Mali?
Well, the extremists are reverting to form. Before they took over northern Mali a year ago, they had long occupied and knew the mountains and the wadis of the Sahara very well, and now they've entrenched themselves back. Then they're launching the asymmetric attacks that were anticipated. The worry now is that French President Hollande has announced already that by July he will draw down half of the 4,000 troops he has there now, and by the end of the year another half. So the French troops will be reduced by 75% by year's end. I'm not so confident that by year's end, although they've killed some militants, maybe several hundred, they certainly will not have succeeded in rooting them out.
So, Peter, I mean, aren't we looking at an Afghanistan-type situation where the insurgents know that there's a deadline? And why don't they just sit it out in those caves and those wadis up in northern Mali and wait for the French to leave?
Well, the insurgents are under a bit of pressure. They've lost one of their senior commanders, Abu Zaid, killed by Chadian troops and confirmed by the French dead several weeks ago. They need to show that they're alive in order to attract continued recruits, continued funding. So they need to keep a little bit of momentum. Strategic patience certainly is being exercised by some of the brigades of the extremists, but they need to also remain engaged if they're to remain relevant.
In terms of how Mali is left after this French operation, is the Islamic insurgency in Mali less, significantly less, or about the same amount of a regional threat as it was before the French went in?
I think, in a way, now that the hornet's nest has been stirred up a bit, in a way, the threat, which had primarily been focused on Mali, is now also spread to northern Nigeria. Niger is in danger. Mauritania is threatened. So the threat has been spread out. The key, though, to securing the situation in Mali is the establishment of a government in Mali that's legitimate and the training up of an African force that is prepared and equipped to deal with this. If the French are convinced that they need to draw down, then there has to be something to replace it.
And is that happening? Is somebody building that?
Well, there's some work being done, but I'm very concerned that it's not being done in a manner quickly enough. And ultimately, we have to rebuild. Military action can create a space for political solutions, but those political solutions have to be pursued.
Pham, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.